In St. Matthew's Gospel, chapter 2, verse 16, we read, "Meanwhile, when he found out that the wise men had played him false, Herod was angry beyond measure. He sent and made away with all the male children in Bethlehem and in all its neighbourhood, of 2 years old and less, reckoning the time by the careful inquiry which he had made of the wise men. It was then that the word spoken by the prophet Jeremy was fulfilled. A voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation and great mourning. It was Rachel weeping for her children, and she would not be comforted, because none is left." That translation is Ronald Knox's version of the Bible, which is not generally available these days. Hence, instead of saying Jeremiah, he says Prophet Jeremy. This event, which is commemorated by the Holy Catholic Church at the Feast of the Holy Innocents, is regarded as probably not something that actually happened in history, and principally because Josephus, the Jewish historian of the 1st century AD, does not refer to it. But Josephus does not refer to everything that happened that's of significance at the time of the periods over which he was writing. And he gets some things wrong. And we know for a fact that Herod was a wicked man. Josephus himself tells us that, and the Gospels tell us that. There's no particular reason to not see St. Matthew as an historian here. And even if you deny that Matthew, the apostle, wrote the Gospel according to St. Matthew, that would not preclude the writer, whoever he was, of St. Matthew's Gospel. And I've no doubt it was Matthew for various reasons. But there's no reason to preclude that writer from being the conveyor of historical information. So we have no reason to doubt that Herod slaughtered the innocents. And as Catholics, of course, we have the fact. We know that it was actually something that happened because the Church commemorates this event in a feast, and it does not commemorate falsehoods or myths. So what I'm going to do now is to read from chapter 73 of the 1st volume of the poem of the Man God, Jesus at Bethlehem, in the peasant's house and in the grotto. And we now find the adult Jesus learns of the slaughter of the innocents. Now, I don't know whether this is when he first finds out about it, in his human nature, of course. In his divine nature, he knows everything, and there's a whole area of theology which deals with Christ's knowledge. And I've touched on it in other videos. But I don't know whether even in his natural knowledge he learnt about the slaughter of the innocents as he was growing up, or after the return of the Holy Family from Egypt. No matter. I shall read this chapter now. Given to Maria Valtorta on the 8th of January 1945. A stony, dusty, flat road, dried up by the summer sun. It runs alongside huge olive trees, all laden with small, newly formed olives. The ground, where it has not been trodden, is strewn with a layer of minute little olive flowers, which have fallen off after pollination. Jesus, with the 3 disciples, proceeds in single file along the edge of the road where the grass is still green, protected by the shade of the olive trees, and consequently there is less dust. The road turns at a right angle, after which it climbs easily towards a large valley shaped like a horseshoe, on which numerous houses are strewn, forming a small town. At the right angle turn of the road, there is a square building surmounted by a little low dome. It is all closed up, as if it were abandoned. "That is Rachel's sepulchre," says Simon. "In that case, we've almost arrived." "Are we going into town at once?" "No, Judas. I want to show you a place first. Then we will go into town. And since there is still clear daylight, and it will be an evening of moonlight, we will be able to speak to the people, if they will listen to us. Do you think they'll not listen to you? They reach the sepulchre, an ancient but well-preserved monument, well whitewashed. Jesus stops to drink at a rustic well nearby. A woman who has come to draw water offers him some. Jesus asks her, "Are you from Bethlehem?" "I am, but now at harvest time, I live in the country here with my husband to look after the vegetable gardens and the orchards. Are you a Galilean?" "I was born in Bethlehem, but I live at Nazareth in Galilee." "Are you persecuted too?" "The family is." "But why'd you say you too? Are there many people persecuted among the Bethlehemites?" "Don't you know? What age are you?" 30. "Then you were born exactly when... Oh, what a calamity. But why was he born here?" "Who?" "The one they said was the Saviour. Cursed be the fools who, drunk as they were, thought the clouds were angels and the bleating and braying were voices from heaven, and in the haze of drunkenness they mistook 3 miserable people for the holiest people on the earth. Cursed be they, and cursed be those who believe them." "But with all your cursing, you're not telling me what happened," says Jesus. "Why are you cursing?" "Because... Listen, where are you going?" "To Bethlehem with my friends," says Jesus. "I have business there. I must visit some old friends and take them the greetings of my mother. But I would like to know many things before, because we have been away, we of the family, for many years. We left the town when I was only a few months old." "Before the catastrophe then," says the woman. "Listen, if you do not loathe the house of a peasant, come and share our bread and salt with us, you and your companions. We will talk during supper, and I will put you all up for the night. My house is small, but above the stable there is a lot of hay all piled up. The night is clear and warm. If you want, you can sleep there. May the Lord of Israel reward your hospitality. I will be happy to come to your house," says Jesus. "A pilgrim brings blessings with him. Let us go. But I shall have to pour 6 jars of water on the vegetables which have just come up." "And I will help you," says Jesus. "No, you are a gentleman. Your behaviour says so." "I'm a worker, woman. This one is a fisherman. Those 2 Judeans are well off and employed. I am not." And he picks up a jar which was lying flat on its big belly near the very low wall of the well. He ties it to the rope and lowers it into the well. John helps him. Also the others wish to be as helpful, and they ask the woman, "Where are the vegetables? Tell us, and we will take the jars there." "May God bless you. My back is broken with fatigue. Come." And while Jesus is pulling up his jar, the 3 disciples disappear along a little path and come back with 2 empty ones, which they fill up and then go away. And they do not do that 3, but 10 times. And Judas, laughing, says, "She is shouting herself hoarse, blessing us. We've given so much water to her salad that the soil will be damp for at least 2 days, and the woman will not have to break her back." When he comes back for the last time, he says, "Master, I'm afraid that we've been unlucky." "Why, Judas?" "Because she has it in for the Messiah," I said to her, "Don't curse. Don't you know that the Messiah is the greatest grace for the people of God? Yahweh promised him to Jacob, and after him to all the prophets and the just people in Israel. And you hate him?" She replied, "Not him, but the one whom some drunken shepherds and 3 cursed diviners from the east called Messiah. And since that is you—" "It does not matter," says Jesus. "I know I'm placed as a trial and contradiction for many. Did you tell her who I am?" "No, I'm not a fool. I wanted to save your back and ours." "You did well," says Jesus. "Not because of our backs, but because I wish to show myself when I think the time is right. Let us go." Judas leads him as far as the vegetable garden. The woman empties the last 3 jars, and she then takes him towards a rustic building in the middle of the orchard. "Go in," she says. "My husband is already in the house." They look into a low, smoky kitchen. "Peace be to this house," greets Jesus. "Whoever you are, may you and your friends be blessed. Come in," replies the man. And he takes out to them a basin of water that they may refresh and clean themselves. Then they all go in and sit round a rough table. "Thank you for helping my wife. She told me. I'd never dealt with Galileans before, and I was told that they are rough and quarrelsome. But you have been kind and good. Although already tired, you worked so hard. Are you coming from far?" "From Jerusalem. These 2 are Judeans. The other one and I are from Galilee. But believe me, man, you will find good and bad everywhere." "That's true. The first time I've met Galileans, I found them to be good. Woman, bring the food. I have but bread, vegetables, olives and cheese. I'm a peasant." "I'm not a gentleman myself," says Jesus. "I'm a carpenter." "What? You? With your manners?" The woman intervenes. "Our guest is from Bethlehem, I told you, and if his relations are persecuted, they were probably rich and learned, like Joshua of Ur, Matthew of Isaac, Levi of Abraham, poor people." "You've not been questioned. Forgive her. Women are more talkative than sparrows in the evening." "Were they Bethlehemite families?" asks Jesus. "What? You do not know who they are? And you come from Bethlehem?" "We ran away when I was a few months old," says Jesus. The woman, who must be really loquacious, resumes speaking. "He went away before the massacre." "Ah, I see that. Otherwise, he would not be in this world. Have you never been back?" "No, never," says Jesus. "What a calamity. You will not find many of those Sarah said you want to meet and visit. Many were killed. Many ran away. Many, who knows, missing. And it has never been known whether they died in the desert or were killed in jail as a punishment for their rebellion." But was it a rebellion? And who would have remained inactive, allowing so many innocents to be slaughtered? No, it is unfair that Levi and Elias should still be alive when so many innocents are dead. "Who are these 2, says Jesus. "And what did they do?" "Well, At least you will have heard of the slaughter by Herod. Over 1,000 babies slaughtered in town, almost another 1,000 in the country. Just pause there. So we have the peasant telling Jesus 1,000 babies were slaughtered in Bethlehem town itself, and around about another 1,000. But there's a footnote which says the real number of babies killed is 32, of which 18 in the actual town of Bethlehem and 14 in the nearby country. Also, 6 baby girls were slaughtered, as the hired cutthroats could not tell them from baby boys because they were dressed alike, and also because of the darkness and their hurry to kill. The peasant, as is often the case, exaggerates. The above detailed information is given by Maria Valtorta on a separate sheet added to the original manuscript. So that seems to clarify the question of the numbers killed. But it gets complicated because elsewhere, that is in her diaries, and I can't remember the place now, Maria Valtorta gives different figures for the numbers of children. They're still not in the thousands. They're not in the I think that in the low hundreds, low 120 boys possibly. But I have to get that particular entry in the diaries and find it to be sure. So it's not clear the exact number of children that were killed, but it was a mixture of boys and girls, and the girls, as was said, because it was not possible to see in the melee, in the confusion, who was a girl, who was a boy, and for the sake of avoiding missing a boy, they would kill a girl. But it looks like the numbers that were revealed to Maria Valtorta, when she wrote them down from memory, she got confused. But this nonetheless, whichever numbers we have, were in the less than, say, 150 or so, and that might explain why Josephus does not mention this event, because though for us it is a very, very important event, the slaughter of the innocents, for Judean society, where there's no particular significance to Jesus, the decision to kill, which amounts to killing several dozen children in a small village, a town which is perhaps no bigger than a village, and is only significant because it was the city of David. Well, that won't mean anything unless one really sees this as being significant for prophetic purposes. And that perhaps tells us why history is silent about it. But Matthew, who knows its prophetic significance, mentions it and has captured what was quite a cruel event forever in the human consciousness.